Hello, horse lovers. So many of us got into horses through reading about them because sadly, not everybody can have the chance to meet a horse in real life or live the dream of eventually owning your own horse. I've been really blessed to be able to live that dream, but of course, I still treasure a lot of horse books. I can't think of many horse books that I didn't like. There's maybe one or two. But those are for another time. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite series, and it's one that isn't all that well known, sadly, and I don't know why when I talk to other horse lovers, they're like, I never heard of that one. This series is actually, it goes by two different titles. I first knew it as the Best Friends series, and I'll explain more about that toward the end. Today I'm only going to talk about the first one in the series. In the original series, there were four books before um, they were rewritten. You see, in recent years, the author, Maggie Dana, has redone them as the Timber Ridge Riders series. And there are actually 13 books in that series. Now, those of you who know I have multiple channels know I also have a Disney channel, a Disney review channel, and I'm reviewing a series on there called Once Upon a Time. And after reviewing that, I've said I'm never reviewing a continuous series again. But I'll make an exception for books because books are easy. You don't have to sit there and record 10 million clips. So I'm going to review at least the first original four, possibly the whole 13 later. I'm thinking not at this point, but the original four are the best in the series anyway. So we're going to start with book one, and that is No Time for Secrets. And yeah, I know it's glary there, but that's basically just yellow anyway. That's the way the cover is. This book is different than other horse books. There's a million and one horse books out there where somebody is afraid of horses after having a bad experience actually riding them, falling from them, being injured, something of that nature. Well, this book starts with a girl named Carrie Logan who has vowed to never go near horses again after a tragic accident, but it wasn't a riding accident. She was pretty much family with the stable, the family that owned the stable where she took riding, and she truly loved this one horse named Black Magic. Well, she showed up at the stable one day ready to ride Black Magic like always, and the woman who owned the stable is there at the door and says, "You killed Black Magic, get out of here." And she's like, "What do you mean I killed him? I didn't do anything that would hurt him." She's blamed for leaving the stall door open, and Black Magic got out and gorged himself on grain. Now, if you know horses, you know you gotta be very, very careful not to overfeed them. Because horses don't have that mental off switch that we have. A human will eat and they'll get feeling too full and they'll say, "Oh man, my stomach's hurting, I gotta stop." Horses don't have that. They will continue to eat until their stomach will literally rupture, or at least become so blocked up and uncomfortable that it will kill them. This is one form of colic. There are actually several forms of colic, but anytime a horse has that, it's bad. And Carrie's blamed for leaving the stall door open that let Black Magic go and eat way too much grain. She herself isn't sure in her memory whether she locked that door or not, because being blamed, guilt takes over and she's like, "Oh my god, I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't lock that door. It must be my fault that Black Magic's dead." And all that guilt is absolutely crushing her. Well, a few months after this is actually when we first meet her. Her dad travels for work, can't really take care of her. Her mom died before the start of the books. Well, she's living with her aunt. She's bored. She's miserable. It's summer, so she doesn't even have school to go to. She's got nothing. Well, she sees an ad in the paper to be a live-in companion to a girl in a wheelchair. And she's like, I get to make a new friend, get to make some money, and I have something to do. Perfect. But it's at a stable. And she tells herself, okay, I'll just avoid the stable part of it. I'll just hang out with the girl. I mean, I can do this. Well, she goes there and she meets the other girl whose name is Holly. And of course, they become best friends, hence the original title of the series. Holly's in a wheelchair not because of a horse accident, but because of a car accident that killed her dad. And what makes this also unique is that there's nothing physically wrong with her. The doctors can't figure out why she can't use her legs. Well, Carrie and Holly both hit it off, become practically sisters right away. And Holly used to be a very good rider. And of course, she wants to go to the stables. Well, to get out of this, Carrie keeps pretending she's afraid of horses. Oh no, they're just too big. I'm scared to death of them. Please don't make me go near them. And Holly is kind of a little bit pushy that way. And I like that they have distinct personalities, and neither character is perfect, which is good. They're very real, very well written characters in that regard. Holly is a very outgoing, very friendly person, but she tends to speak without thinking, and she can be a little bit pushy. And she's like, oh, come on, just meet my horse. You gotta meet Magician. And Magician is almost a perfect physical copy of Black Magic, which of course is very hard for Carrie. Now, there's two different ways that Carrie gets back to riding again. They change it a little bit for the Timber Ridge Riders series. Now, also, I gotta say, in the Timber Ridge series, for some reason, Carrie's renamed Katie. I don't know why, but just in case you've ever read the Timber Ridge series without knowing how it started. Well, Holly finds an ad for therapeutic riding, and she begs her mom to let her do it. And at first, her mom's like, well, you've ridden before. It wouldn't be like it used to be. You're going to be disappointed that it's not going to be like jumping fences again, riding a dressage test again. And Holly's like, yeah, I know, I don't care, just to be on a horse again at all. And Carrie is very impressed by Holly's courage at getting up on a horse again. And I have to say, so am I, because any rider who's ever fallen knows the kind of fear that can create. And if you ride, you will fall. It's going to happen. But just on a personal note, just to say how much I relate to Holly, I'm not looking for sympathy or anything, but I was in a severe bike accident that shattered my left leg. And I have yet to ride again, although I'm hoping to ride again by the end of summer. Well, by the end of fall anyway, at this rate. But I know what kind of courage it takes to get back up there. And Carrie respects that too, and that's what gets her finally going again in the original version of the series. And she gets to love Magician too, and she's like, okay, I have to get on a horse again. I got to at least try. And she gets on Magician one night when she thinks everybody's asleep by then, and it feels just like old times. She's like, I can do this. I really can get back on. Well, Holly catches her at it, and Carrie reveals the story of what happened with Black Magic. And Holly's like, I'm pretty sure something else went on there because you're not the kind of person that would leave a stall door unlocked like that. And Carrie's like, I had to be. It had to be me. Nobody else but me ever wrote Black Magic. I had to have been at fault. And Holly's like, let me see what maybe my mom can find something out. And Carrie's like, no, no. This is our secret. Has to be. Well, Holly promises to keep that secret, and she would have. But there's another girl at the stable by the name of Whitney Myers. Whitney is a bit of a stereotype, but you do come across people like her in the horse world, and in any world, basically. She's your stuck up rich girl who only rides because it's what rich people do. Look at me, I have a horse, I'm rich. She knows Carrie could beat her on the Timber Ridge riding team, could take her place. Whitney's mom owns everything in the area. She's basically landlady for the town. So Whitney tells Carrie, unless you want Holly's mom to lose her job and lose their house, you don't ride anymore, or I'll tell your secret. Well, Carrie feels terrible and of course says, alright, you win, I'm not going to ride again. Now, before I go any further, I do want to back up and say the way it's done in the Timber Ridge books, where Carrie starts to ride again, she's forced to ride after another girl's in an accident and she has to ride for help. I found that a little bit more stereotypical and a little less realistic, to be honest, than just being inspired by Holly finally getting back up there. Well, Carrie might have gone on pretending to be afraid of horses for forever, but another girl on the riding team gets hurt and they don't have enough for the upcoming competition. And Whitney's mom is all about winning that competition, and they can't do it with only 3 members. So they have to come out and say, yes, Carrie can ride. Now, Holly's mom, Liz, makes a few calls and finds out another girl was actually riding Black Magic secretly after Carrie had left for the day. And she was the one that left the stall door open. It was not Carrie's fault at all. The remainder of the book, after Carrie's name is cleared, is the competition. And it has a bit of an unexpected, but that's one of the things I love about this book is it's not stereotypical, except for you could argue that the main villain, if you want to say, yeah, I would go so far as to call Whitney a villain. The main villain is a little bit stereotypical, but the rest of the story is pretty original. The way the competition ends, and spoiler alert here, of course, I'm doing a review, so spoilers should be obvious, but what happens at the end is Carrie and Whitney are tied after Whitney cheated to throw off all of Carrie's events. Carrie still ends up tying her, and had the competition been honest, would have beaten her. Well, the judges say, well, okay, you're tied. And Whitney says, I'm not accepting tied. I'm going to win this. Let's have a ride off. The judges say, well, okay, we'll have a ride off. Carrie pretends that she's hurt her ankle, or that she's too injured to ride, that she twisted something, for 2 reasons. For one thing, she's afraid of Holly's mom losing her job if Whitney doesn't win. And for another, the judge said that they had to switch horses. And Carrie loves Magician too much to see him abused by a bad rider. So Carrie says, I call the competition, let Whitney win. Which I find really, it was an extremely courageous thing of Carrie to do. And I find it a lot more realistic than Carrie just winning or, losing but accepting it because, losing it but saying, oh, I still beat my own, fears or whatever. She knows she could have won, but she made the sacrifice for the sake of the horse, which I really like. This is only book 1 in the series. I will be talking about the next 3 in the series after this. I'll give you one more look at the cover. The rewritten series I don't have in book form. It's on Kindle, but I will be talking more about that later on. I'll probably do a comparison once I've done the first 4, do a general comparison, but so that's No Time for Secrets. And I also have to show off. Now, Magician in the book is described as a pure black horse. But I also have to show my Breyer model, who I named Magician. He's not black, he's a bay. But I like the series so much I couldn't help naming him Magician, even if he doesn't match the looks of the original horse. And bit of a fun story before I go of how I got Magician. I had seen another model in the same mold, and it was for sale online, but another person beat me to it. Well, somebody else knew that I collected Breyers in this mold. This is one of my favorite Breyer molds. It's the Big Ben mold. One more look at him here. And they said, I have one that I painted myself with that mold. If you want him, I'll sell him to you. And I said, yeah, I'll take him. So that's the story of how I got my version of Magician. If you haven't already read this series, give it a try. I'll be talking about the next 3 books and the original 4 in order. I figure on getting at least one a week up because, like I said, books are easy to talk about. So I will see you in my next video, and until then, keep horses in your life.